Hello, everyone. Welcome to the debut episode of our new series. Via Link presents Big Impact Louisiana. This series spotlights nonprofit organizations doing transformative work in our state. We are diving deep into mission, leadership, and the heartbeat of Louisiana's nonprofits world here in this state. Today, we're incredibly excited and honored to feature a true force for justice and equity, the wonderful, great executive director, Ms. Laura Tuggle with Southeast Louisiana Legal Services.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before we begin, we want to offer a heartfelt congratulations to Southeast Louisiana Legal Services on winning the Via Link's Marguerite Redwine Eternal Flame Award. We're truly in awe of everything you do to serve our community. We love you, Ms. Laura. We always talk about the great things that you guys are doing. So I'm so excited to be able to have you as one of our first guests on the show. So we're gonna just go ahead and jump on in. Like the one of the first questions I wanted to make sure that everybody know a lot about everything you guys are doing is, can you tell us a little bit more about the mission of Southeast Louisiana Legal Services and the communities you serve?
First, let me say thank you. I'm very honored to be here. It is definitely a mutual admiration society. We love the work of Via Link and all the different ways you touch the community and really connect the community. So thank you for your work. But Southeast Louisiana Legal Services is a nonprofit law firm. We only handle civil cases in really critical, everyday matters that impact the lives of low income people in Southeast Louisiana. So that's everything from helping a domestic violence victim get protective orders and secure custody, or maybe some interim support to help support their family. We also have about 40% of our work where we represent low income tenants in a variety of housing matters, primarily in defending against evictions or other kinds of landlord tenant disputes that could jeopardize housing security. We help folks with an array of consumer law cases. Um, we're doing a lot more work with what we call air property, like when someone passes away in a
Mhm.
family. It's really important that those, what Louisiana calls successions, get cleared to kind of remove any barriers to obtaining insurance proceeds, rebuilding funds, FEMA assistance, and just being more ready when unfortunately disaster will strike again. Because,
Mhm.
when you're not ready and you have to slow down, it just really bogs down recovery for not only individuals but for communities. So that's a huge part of our work. Um, and we do a lot of other things too: employment law, benefits. We represent veterans. We do many, many different things. What we don't do is criminal work. So
Mhm.
think civil, think everyday legal problems. Don't think 18 wheelers or slip and fall accidents. That's not us.
You guys are doing so much good work. You're doing so much for the community. I'm not sure how y'all guys are doing it all, or how you, or even getting everything, efficiently, and to just do it so great like you are doing. One of my questions to you is, what exactly, for data reasons, like for data purposes, what exactly are y'all doing to be able to, actually compile all this information and make sure y'all are picking the right specific types of projects and impact that you guys are doing right
That's a
now?
great question. So every year we do a legal needs study
Okay.
where we go out to the community. This year we'll send it to you guys and ask you to put the link on Via Link in case, we try to get information from the actual consumers that we
Mhm.
assist, our what we call our client community.
Okay.
But we also like to get feedback from other nonprofits, or it could be court or community leaders, or it could be faith based leaders, or local elected leaders, or uh, pro bono attorneys or law students, just really anybody that's encountering potential legal issues that people need help resolving so that they can stabilize their lives, have a better future for their families. That's one of the things we do every year, and we usually do it by uh, a survey, but we also look at other data sources.
Mhm.
So um, we'll look at the United Way's Alice report. We'll look at the New Orleans, well, I think they just called the data center now. We'll look at
Mhm.
census data. We'll examine our own case data. So one of the things that uh, I'm a little bit of a stickler for, to the extent that I am a stickler, um, we track the outcome of our work too.
I love
So
that.
we dump everything into a case management system called Legal Server, and it helps us track not only the time we spend in cases, but what's the outcome of those cases. So, like, what level of service did we provide? Did we go to
Hmm.
court? Did we give advice? Did we negotiate something? What was happened? And then what was the benefit to the client? Did we prevent an eviction? Did we delay an eviction? Did we get a protective order? Did we secure benefits? What was it? And then we usually say whether the result was a win, a loss, or an M, which is a mixed result.
Mm. Okay.
And then we track um, to the best that we can. We're a bunch of lawyers, not statisticians, everybody. So we track the economic benefit of our work. So if we know that we helped a single mom obtain $300 a month in child support, we're going to put that in our system as a $3,600 annual benefit, multiplying the $300 a month times 12. If we help someone secure Social Security benefits, if there's a retroactive payment, we'll record that. And then if it's like $950 a month, we'll
Hmm.
record that as an annualized benefit. And so, to the best we can, we try to, mm, I guess you could say, monetize it.
Hmm.
Um, and a lot of things you can't really put a price tag on, like helping keep someone safe.
Right.
Um, but a lot of things you can. So, like last year, we know that we helped in our direct casework about 14,000 cases, over 30,000 individual people in those cases. And we had an economic benefit of a little over $23 million.
Wow.
Now, our second largest funder, they take our data and other places they fund, that's the Louisiana Bar Foundation, and they do they do an economic impact study, but they do it as a social return on investment. So they're
Okay.
looking at other things, like not
Hmm.
just what did we directly obtain or help avoid the loss of, but what kind of savings were there potentially in healthcare costs or law
Hmm.
enforcement costs or other societal costs by helping solve a legal need? And last year they released a study earlier this year actually, and they found that for every dollar invested in civil legal aid programs like ours, there was $13.28 of social return on investment.
Oh, wow.
So it really makes a difference. It's a really wise use of resources. And, pretty much every time that we're out in the community talking about our work, I can say, and I really feel it, I really believe it, that um, almost every problem
Hmm.
that's out there in our community, that civil legal aid is a helps as a solution to that problem.
Hmm.
It's not the whole solution, but it is part of the toolkit to
Right.
almost everything that is confronting our state today. And we have a lot confronting us. I just happened to read in the some USA Today says we're the 50th worst state to live in. So we also obviously have a lot to do to make
Hmm.
this a better place. So um, that's what we try to do.
I appreciate that. I especially appreciate you bringing up about outcomes. I think that's an area of missed opportunities for a lot of smaller nonprofits, and working to find new ways to make sure that we're capturing that information so we can have a better understanding for those programs. I think it's very important. So I really appreciate you for answering that. So I'm gonna shift the gears a little bit more about you.
Okay.
So, your leadership has helped steer Southeast Louisiana Legal Services through incredible challenges and growth. I wonder what first drew you to this line of work, to this organization in particular.
Well, I got really lucky. Um, all I knew when I went to law school was that I wanted to help people.
Hmm.
It was a really different time. There weren't um, as many social justice type oriented organizations around at that time. And um, I started my, you're not going to believe this. I don't even know if you know this, but my first kind of professional job right out of law school, shortly after law school, was at V-Link.
Oh, really? No, I did know that.
They had a program at that time that matched volunteerism with different corporations. Sometimes it was volunteer hours, sometimes it was donated services. Started out as a position there in that role, uh, and um, really wanted to get into the legal field because, I had a law degree, and happened to see a posting for a position at the Pro Bono Project. They were launching a brand new program as a homeless legal clinics going around to 5 different homeless service agencies. So that was in 1992. And that's where I first saw the posting, and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like this was made for me. So
Mhm.
I applied, and I was blessed, and I got that opportunity. And the director of the local legal aid office for Southeast, where I am now, he was on their board of directors, and kind of stole me away to do landlord tenant eviction defense work. So I've been in this space now for 32 years, but it all started with Link,
I
actually.
love that. Oh, I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So along with that, how would you describe your leadership style, and how has it evolved over the years, and all of the work that you've been doing and experiences you've had?
Well, um, I would say we have when I say we, I mean the organization, and let me make it about me since you asked about me. I think my leadership style is a very much open door policy. I believe everybody that works for us or with us is to be respected. They have a lot of knowledge. I sure don't know everything. I'm still learning stuff all the time. Um, and I believe we get some of our best ideas from our clients, from our uh, staff. Um, One of the things I wasn't really sure about when I in the role I am in
Hmm.
now, it's just been almost 11 years. Uh, I really was always the fighter in court. And I always saw that as this is where I'm supposed to be, you know.
Mm.
Um, and when this opportunity came up to lead the organization that I love, um, I was fortunate to get in that role. And one of my favorite parts about the position I have now is when somebody has an idea or when a client need comes up in the community, kind of comes on our radar, whether it's through a study or it's just us kind of noticing, hey, hurricane just happened. Now we need to do this, or, whatever the need is. I really love that I'm able to do something about it
Hmm.
now. Um, so I write all the grants for our organization, and I get a little help here and there along the way. But I love being able to say, this issue is confronting our community. Let's sit down. What do we think is a good idea? How we should design this, and then let's try to get some resources to try to make a dent in this problem.
Mhm.
And that is one of my favorite things. So I try to be really collaborative and really listen to other voices because I don't know it all. And got one of the best compliments ever. We had a visit from a funder last year, and this is really the team. We have such an incredible team. And it was one of those moments where, like, they sent all the team out of the room, and I was like, "Uh-oh, they're about to, they're about to, they're about to tell me like, we don't, like this."
Right.
Um, but instead, they said, "We just wanted to tell you that whatever is going on at SLLS, this is a magical place. You've got some real magic going on here." I mean, this is a legal aid office monitoring this.
Right.
So I would love to say, I think our people are magical. Um, if I can have any little part in that's phenomenal. Because most people, whether they're a lawyer or not, don't get to go to work to a place they feel is magical every day.
Right.
So I'm really lucky.
I love that. That is so great. I love that you also said one of the main things about being a leader is that you don't know everything. I think that's a thing we gotta, a lot of people have to remind themselves, that it's okay not to know everything and have an answer to everything right away. As long as it's an opportunity for you to learn new things. So I appreciate that. So another question I have for you is, what matters the most right now to you as a leader? And what matters most to the organization as it looks towards the future?
Well, we are in a moment where we have a lot of uncertainty right now.
Hmm.
Um, although I love to write a lot of grants and raise funds, get resources in, about 50% of our budget is federal money. And there's just a lot of concern as the federal government is going into this next budget cycle and what things are going to end up looking like.
Right.
Because I've been around for 30 plus years, I've seen some ups and some downs and some
Right.
ups and some downs. And so uh, we have been in this moment before where we knew we were going to have some real problems, whether it was Katrina and then we had census readjustment because we lost so much population and then we
Hmm.
lost a lot of funding. And, these things are going to happen. So I do believe as we're in this moment that we're in, that we have to be calm. We have to know who we are and determine whatever resources we have, staying true to what is the most important to the mission,
Hmm.
and knowing that whatever things are going to look like as we kind of come out of this cycle, there are going to be those ups and downs, and that it's really important that we don't lose ourselves uh, in this moment where we may have to do some adaptation and
Hmm.
be a bit flexible. So um, it's going to be a tricky time, but we definitely have been here before.
Hmm. I
And we've
appreciate
been
that.
around 50 something years. So
Right.
hurricanes hadn't run us out yet. And so I
Right.
expect to still be around. Um, I don't know if I personally will be around another 50, but I think SLLS will still be around 50 more.
Hmm. I agree. What do you think is one of the most misunderstood aspects of legal aid work in Louisiana?
I would say a couple of things. First
Hmm.
is um, the volume of need. Uh, the State Bar Association did a, a study a couple of years ago, really looking at what they called legal deserts, which is a fancy way of saying there are certain areas in the state where there's not like a legal aid office or some other kinds of office providing civil legal services in 30, at least I think within 45-minute drives is
Hmm.
the metric they use. And there are a lot of those spots scattered throughout the state. But in addition to that, one of the things they found was for every person living in poverty in the state using federal poverty guidelines, there is one civil legal aid lawyer for every 11,200 people.
Wow.
So the volume of need is gigantic,
Hmm.
and the resources are insufficient to meet the need. So that means we can't do everything. We
Hmm.
do have to, unlike on sort of the criminal side, if something happens, you get charged with something, you're and you're facing some 6 months or more, you're going to get appointed an attorney. Civil
Right.
legal aid is not like that. We're nonprofits, even though we do get some federal money or some state money. Uh, we kind of raise our own money, and we are not court appointed.
Mm.
So I think there's some confusion on that. And I also think there's a real misunderstanding of just how big the volume is. Um, I think those are the two things that are most misunderstood.
Thank you for sharing. Hopefully that clears it up and gives some people some new things to think about. Before we end, one of the questions I want to ask that I know there are going to probably be a lot of young professionals probably watching is, what advice would you give to young professionals or students who are passionate about justice and thinking about going into nonprofit law or advocacy or working in different capacities with communities?
I would say more power to you, but also, um, if you wanted to learn a bit more about what we do with Delayed or potentially volunteer with us, but we only got one lawyer for every 11,200 people.
Right.
So that means we love working with volunteers. We love working with law students. We love working with undergrad students. You don't have to be considering going to law school. We have different types of undergrads that will volunteer with us. I think we have about 40 or 50 law students this summer spread throughout all of our offices. Um, and we work with volunteer attorneys, and we're really thinking about trying to find a role for what's called community justice workers, which is something
Hmm.
new that we're thinking about, where you can be a non-attorney and maybe help with a certain discrete task, maybe
Oh,
under the
okay.
supervision of a lawyer.
Mm.
It's a model that started out in Alaska, of all places, because they have a lot of challenges there. They got
Hmm.
like a huge terrain. They got
Right.
crazier weather than maybe we even have.
Hmm.
They have a lot of indigenous tribal communities that speak about many, many different languages, and they don't have many lawyers. And so they started training healthcare workers to assist, like with doing different kinds of benefits applications, and then only involving a lawyer if necessary. And we actually did an evaluation of the effectiveness of our work around expungements last year, which is the one thing we do that's filed in criminal court, but we're not challenging a criminal court proceeding. Um, and we are really seriously thinking about a model where we could train community members to just help folks kind of walk the last step of the process across the finish line.
Hmm.
Because there's so much volume and need for that service, um, a lot of times people get a little bit of help on the front end, help filling out forms and
Right.
notarizing things, and then they kind of just get a step by step. Okay,
Hmm.
you take it and go file it over here, and here's your next
Right.
step. And we found that a lot of people were getting kind of lost. Um, after we did that survey. So we're thinking about a project involving, could be legal volunteers, but it doesn't have to be, where we just maybe have them help walk the case across the finish line, not as a
Mhm.
lawyer, just making sure it moves through the process.
Right,
Um, we had a lot of community members be intimidated to go back into criminal court because of prior, or just too confused or just
right.
overwhelmed. And so we said, you know what? This really just needs to kind of be walked through the next step and followed up on. Maybe we could train somebody else to do it. So we're seriously kicking around that idea. So
I like
I would
that
just say,
idea.
if you're interested, you can be a supporter, you can volunteer. Of course, we always take money, just like anybody else. But you know, we we really do welcome support in whatever fashion it takes. So check us out. Maybe
I'll
do
make
an
sure
interview.
to link all of your information too.
Perfect.
Well, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule for doing this interview with us. I truly appreciate you. And thank you for all you do for our community and you do for all of us. I think you're wonderful and I'm so excited for to see what's next from you as well as from Southeast Louisiana
Well,
Legal
thank
Services.
you. I mean, I'm really lucky. You know, when you love your job, it's not a job.
Yeah. And you know what? That's a good a way to end it. I love it. When you love your job, you love your job. Yes.
Okay. See
Thank
y'all
you.
later. Have a great day. Bye bye.
You too. Bye bye.